Hello, ladies and gentlemen, back on the iPhone. Used the Galaxy S10 for a total of 9 days, almost made it to 10, but I think I've generally got my opinion down on it. I've used it extensively as my daily, not taking the iPhone with me at all, and I have developed an opinion on it, and that review is in the works. It'll be up later this week, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I wanted to talk about a comment in a tweet that is very, very common to me now because so many tech channels out there are switching to a 2:1 filming aspect ratio, or an 18:9 as many people call it, even though by 9 you can just divide it in it's basically 2:1. Basically, why don't you make the video more narrow instead of filming at 16:9, even though that's what all cameras default to recording to? Most of them do. Like iPhones, Galaxies, they default to recording at 16:9. Most cameras, like even my Blackmagic, my Lumix DSLRs, they default to 16:9. So switching everything over to 2:1 is a little bit of a hurdle, because for one, you have to tell apps like Final Cut that you want to cut off part of your content, because most cameras, some of them do, you know, some professional ones you can shoot directly to 2:1, but most cameras are default to 16:9, which means that when you go into Final Cut, you have to tell it to cut off content, which means that yes, when YouTubers are shooting 2:1, typically they're cutting off pixels and adding black bars to so many people's viewing experiences out there. Now, I don't hate you if you shoot in 2:1. If you're watching this and you prefer that for your content, that's great, and I'm happy for you. And there's been this kind of rise in smartphones being taller and taller and displays being more bezel-less, and that's why a lot of people have, you know, switched, because they think that making the videos more wide and going with that 2:1 aspect ratio fits more futuristic iPhones better. So instead of having fairly big black bars on the side and deciding when you're watching a YouTube video, do you want to embrace the notch? Do you want to not embrace the notch? They're trying to take care of all that for you by uploading to 2:1. That way you don't have to embrace the notch at all, but there's just minimal black bars on the side. So I can kind of get that argument, but the important thing to remember is people watch your content on lots of different things. Sure, mobile is a very common one. Smartphones are probably the most common thing people watch videos on. However, I always have said ever since people started talking about this or been asking me to shoot in 2:1, smartphone displays are changing so drastically and so quickly that you don't want to adopt your content based upon what smartphone display trends are at the time. And today I have some evidence as to suggest why that may backfire. I made a tech video about it a long time ago, but I realized I probably haven't discussed it recently for the new audiences and people who have subscribed since I've uploaded that video. So basically here it is. So for a long time we had those taller displays and notches, so people started switching to 2:1 aspect ratios so that they could fill more of the display. But now the very, very popular Galaxy S10, which I, as mentioned, will be reviewing soon, takes another different design approach to bezel-less trends with the infamous camera hole that people have heard so much about. Instead of having a notch, you kind of put this asymmetrical camera hole out in the corner. Doesn't feel too intrusive, right? Feels like it's just kind of standard there, not doing anything really. But people who are buying the S10, which mind you, there are a lot, Galaxy S10 is selling very, very well, and a lot of people are upgrading to this phone right now. Now, when they start watching all of their tech YouTubers' favorite content that is shot in 2:1 aspect ratio, here are the two choices they have to work between. So, watching a little Rene Ritchie here, but pausing on a frame, Rene Ritchie shoots his video at 2:1, and because of that oddly placed camera hole, it's now turned into a notch. So now, not only do you have black bars on the side of your video, but that's to be expected, but you can't ignore this. You cannot watch a video that was shot in 2:1 now, just in a standard square method. Like any other YouTuber out there that shoots in 16:9, when you're watching their videos, you can watch it in a standard square and not have any intrusions. But if you want that video to be cut off a little bit and you want it to embrace the full display, you can very easily just zoom in, embrace that camera hole, or embrace that notch if you so want to. But ultimately, you have that choice. You can choose to have black bars and no intrusions on the screen, or you can choose to cut off a little bit of content so the video might feel more immersive, embrace the camera hole, embrace that notch. So that's what a 16:9 video allows you to do on mobile. Now, again, switching to a video shot in 2:1, this option is now removed. You cannot watch the video without some type of intrusion. Even if you zoom it in and crop it out a little bit, then you gotta deal with that notch or that camera hole. And if you zoom out, you're still gonna have to deal with that notch. So if you don't care about notches or camera holes intruding on your content, this doesn't really pertain to you. But in my opinion, choosing to shoot in 2:1 because smartphones are going that way, and that's where where a lot of other YouTubers are moving to, is not a good reason to switch your aspect ratio when recording videos, because ultimately smartphone trends, display styles, and everything, all that changes, and it changes far too much and far too drastically for me to think it's worth altering my content back and forth and changing ratios whenever a new display technology comes out. Granted, the taller aspect ratio of smartphones, that one might not change for a while, and on the day that notches disappear and camera holes aren't there at all, maybe it'll be a lot easier to adapt and you won't have to worry about intrusions as much. But ultimately, there's still a ton of people out there that are going to be watching on TVs or on their desktop or on their iPads. Now, your content as a creator is going to be viewed in lots of different ways and on lots of different displays. So in my opinion, it makes sense to record them in the most common aspect ratio out there, which as of now, if you look out on the market, see what most monitors are, see what most TVs are, they're gonna be 16:9, and that's why cameras are set to that by default. I don't want to have to go into my settings and manually add the black bars every time just because it'll fit smartphones better, because smartphones are always changing, and the S10 camera hole and how that affects content is evident of that. Now, because of this design choice, if someone shot in 2:1, they don't have that choice to get rid of this notch or this camera hole. They have to embrace it. Whereas if another YouTuber had have just shot in 16:9, you could have had that option. Even if you don't like the black bars that much, if you want to just see the entire video and you don't want any intrusions or cutouts or anything like that, you have that choice. So that's why I don't shoot my videos in 2:1, is because I want the viewer at the end of the day to have the most choices they can. And like how YouTube works on most devices out there that people watch my content on, if you want to cut off a little bit of the video so that my resolution embraces your whole 10s Max display or 10R display or S10 display, you can do that. You have the choice to zoom in. But if you don't, and you just want all your content displayed regularly, you don't want any intrusions, you have that option. So I give the viewers the option to choose what they want, and that also makes it easier for people out there who watch my videos on TVs, for people out there who watch my videos on their computers that are likely 16:9 monitors. iPads can't really win because no one out there, I think, is going to switch to a 4:3 video just for the iPads. But still, even if YouTube one day added picture-in-picture, that would probably pop out of the player the easiest and let you use the iPad as much as you want to without getting too all over the place with the aspect ratios. So that was a big question. A lot of people kept asking me. Everyone kept saying, tech YouTubers keep switching to this. When are you going to switch to this? I'm not convinced. It's not enough for me to just say, everyone's doing it. You know, you can't sell me on something just because everyone does it. I need to see logistical and rational reasons to switch to a certain aspect ratio. And I don't want to hear, well, Netflix is doing it, because you're watching longer form content and they're trying to make it more cinematic, and there's different cinematography rules that go along with that as to why they want the wider video resolutions and stuff. But that doesn't apply here though, because most of our content is under 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more. We're not talking about cinematography, we're talking about YouTube videos, things people watch very briefly, not sit down TV shows. So it doesn't apply in the same logic to me. Just like people would probably say film, you know, IMAX film looks much better than digital. That doesn't mean that you need to film all your tech videos with actual 35mm film. Maybe someone does that, but it doesn't make sense to me. But it's just apples and oranges, you know, they're very, very different. Anyway, if you guys have any thoughts on the 2:1 versus 16:9 debate, feel free to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have an excellent day. Take care.